Hello everybody, Rita Lawrence, and I am back with chapter 11, The Science of Getting Rich. I was so excited after doing this chapter study that I literally have not taken a shower, I have not done my hair, messy bun going on, and I'm just really blessed and grateful to be here sharing this with you. And I have realized through my study of this book and all of the principles that come from this book that, you know, it's just not about me anymore. I have to admit this. When I first started doing these videos, I was worried what I look like. I was worried what you would think of me, of my voice, of how I talked, of my environment, what was on the wall. I mean, I worried about everything because it was still about me. And through this study, I have come to the realization that this has nothing to do with me or what my hair looks like or what my clothes look like, but I am merely a vessel and a voice sharing with you my personal experiences as I've been coming through this book. And you know, you might think, oh, it's just a book, but by this point, if you've followed me this far in the review, then you, I know, must begin to realize that there's so much more than what we have known most of our lives, right? So I'm just here to bring awareness of these principles and to help bring freedom and healing to the minds and the hearts of you. And let's jump right in. So, you know, this chapter is called Acting in a Certain Way. And this principle, this is something that all successful people do. Every single one of them. You look back in history and you look at Jim Rohn and you look at Wallace Wattles and you look at Tony Robbins and you look at Robert Hollis. These are all principles that they have all put into action in their life, and as a result have gained riches beyond treasures. Literally, they contribute in a bigger way than you could ever do without having tangible riches. To make an impact in this world, that is what is necessary. We must have the resources. And I'm grateful to be sharing these principles with you so that then you can also have the resources. So the first thing I want to, you know, we've talked a lot about thinking in a certain way, right? Thoughts don't control us, but they do control our actions, right? So, you know, up until now, we've been really getting our thoughts in place, really getting to the point where we can think in the certain way, the way that is going to bring success and results to our lives. So now we're going to start talking about acting, right? Now that we got our thought process going and we're learning and improving and growing in our minds, now we're going to start talking about acting. We're going to start talking about putting these principles thus far that we've covered into practice, right? Just an amazingly beautiful chapter. So it really focuses on the priority of personal action. So not what everybody else is doing, not what someone might ask you to do or expect you to do. That's their action or their desires. It's not a personal action of yours, but taking personal action. So to understand who we are as a person right now is vital when you're looking at taking personal action. Otherwise, how are we to make it personal if we aren't relating to who we are on a personal level, right? So this is really going to cover some important concepts and principles that go into how to do that, how to do this, how to make it personal and your own. Really beautiful, really beautiful. You know, another just kind of thought that's come to my mind in this is, you know, this is asking us to take personal action, not merely personal prayer or absolutely not just waiting, you know, thinking the thoughts and then just waiting. So that doesn't work either. Wishing, hoping. All of those words are not used in this chapter. We are talking about taking action. So, you know, my hair's, if you come into my house and you see my hair in a bun, I'm taking action that day. I'm doing something of action, and probably physical action. I'm moving. I'm probably going to be sweating. I'm cleaning the house. I'm doing dishes. I'm organizing. I'm taking action. So there are signs to, you know, taking action. There will be ways that you can know that you're taking personal action. And I'm so thrilled and grateful to be sharing these principles with you, because that is what brings us success, to know that the actions we're taking are getting us to that next step, to that next level, to know we're not spinning our wheels, you know? It's so key every day in life to be making the most of our day and our actions. Who's got the time to give to actions that have nothing to do with our purpose? Who has the time to waste on doing what other people want us to do? Nobody. Unfortunately, many people are. And when we come to the awakening and the realization that that's happening and that that's what we're doing in our life, it's important to stop and turn and get on the right path of our personal purpose. And, you know, I pray that at this point you know what that is. And if you do not, that you will come to that awareness and that conscious understanding of what that is. So let's talk about action. First of all, I looked at what personal, what the definition of personal is, and I'm going to read that to you. Let me see. Relating to a person without intervention of another person. So you can actually take a look. You can list out your day and take a look at all the actions that you're taking, and I highly recommend to do that. It's something that I did when I began this journey myself, because that's going to be your checklist of how much of your actions in your day are personal actions and how much are expectations of others, expectations you're putting on yourself, conforming to the world around you, you know, acting in a comfort zone of just what you've been doing and what you're used to and what you know and what you're comfortable doing doesn't mean it's personal. So we're really going to get into it deep. We're raised and taught to conform, and many of us don't even realize it. And I've got to admit, it was very powerful when I got this vision recently. I was standing in the shower where many of my visions and enlightenment comes to me as I meditate in the morning. Then usually right away I take my shower, and visuals tend to come to me while I'm showering because my eyes are closed a lot. And in the heat and in the moment of that comfort to my body and the power that is in my spirit at that time, after my morning prayer ritual, after my meditation, the visual that came to me recently was, and I talked to my beautiful friend Chris Wood about this. She's an awesome integrative nutrition coach. She's also a registered nurse and very enlightened. So if you need any of those things, reach out to Chris Wood. But I was telling her about this recently because she's been making some changes in her life that are uncomfortable and that are not what everybody else is doing. She's pulled her daughter out of school and is now homeschooling her. This is her second day of homeschool. And I'm so excited because we also homeschool. And I know that I'm here to be a guide and a light for freedom. And many moms feel that tug in their heart to be closer to their children, to provide a creative environment versus a box of school. So I'm not saying school is bad. I know we need the public school system, but that's the key word, system. Systems have been put into place in this three-dimensional world that we live in. We need them. They're important to many, but there is a big community right now of us that are being brought out of that system and that are being brought to their creative purpose in their life. And again, this is not something that's going to be comfortable for you as you start to realize what your box is and what you need to pull out of and what you need to stop conforming to. It's not easy. It's not, because people around you are not going to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and they're going to start to question you, and they're going to start to probably try to distract you. So know that when you're following a personal purpose, you know, personal action, and you know this is what's been put into your heart and soul to do, keep the distractions to a minimum. You know, you must put up those walls to those distractions that are going to come in and that are going to try to get you off of this personal path that you are on, this amazing journey. So back to my visual. I saw a box. It was literally a big giant box, and inside the box was a bunch of desks, and at the desks were puppets attached to strings made out of cardboard right within the box. And the strings were being pulled by the teachers, the principals, the state, you know, those that are putting the school system into place and telling them what to teach us and what not to teach us. Many of these principles, much of what you're learning here is not taught in schools. And that is where so much struggle comes, because these are vital to our joy, our happiness, our success, and most of all, our purpose. And as long as we're living inside that cardboard box and being pulled by those strings, we are not allowed to follow our personal creativity. So then the next visual was these cardboard figures were a little bit bigger as they're growing up, right? Still attached to strings and still in a box, but the box now was filled with cubicles and bosses, company owners. And I saw the lines of lights as they traveled up and down the freeways to get to this box and to leave the box to get back home, and how they'd be going there before dawn even, and then in the box all day just being pulled, the strings just being pulled. Then in the evening, all the lights traveled back to their homes. Most of them then, when those strings of conformity and those strings of what you're supposed to do were gone, they didn't know what to do. And they were stuck in many, many areas, and most of them were just laying on the ground, like literally no energy, no life, no light. So that was just my visual. And you know, I've been searching for freedom most of my life. I began working in an office environment when I was 19. And at that time, I was in an office with no windows. It was just cubicles. And I would have so much mental anguish and unfulfilling feelings that I knew that that was not it. I knew that wasn't all that was for me. Now, I was making good money. Don't get me wrong. I was providing for myself. I had an apartment. I had everything I needed. But I was unfulfilled. And I knew that that was not all that was for me. And from that moment on was when I began to search for the freedom that I needed and for what I knew was my life's purpose. What, baby? What? Just a sec.
Is maple syrup good for my belly?
That'd be okay. A little bit, yeah. Okay. My daughter, working from home always. So, you know, but I was only doing what was needed to get by at that time because that's all I knew to do. All I knew to do was stay in that box and go back and forth to my cubicle and do the things that they asked me to do and needed me to do. I didn't know how to be creative. I didn't know what my potential was. Anyway, so we are called to be more, to do more, to go the extra mile. You know, maybe you're in a job situation like that. I'm not saying, you know, be a slacker and don't work. That's a big piece of what this chapter is about. Do all you can do where you are right now, but know that you are destined for greatness and that you are amazing and have so much blessing and abundance and riches available for you. Do not play small. You know, acting in a certain way means having a big life, living a big life, not worrying about what those around you are thinking and saying and doing, but taking personal action towards your heart's goal and purpose in life, what you were created to do. And start right now where you are. Even though we might be in situations, there were times, you know, at that time that I knew that wasn't what was for me, but yet that's where I was at the time. So I did all I could. I got there early. I stayed late. I did the best I could to please my boss and to overfill my position. And, you know, that was just inspired in me. And it was, I had begun my spiritual journey recently. And I was learning those things. A lot of the same principles in this book. You know, if you're a believer and if you read the Bible, you will absolutely resonate and find that the teachings of many divinities resonate with this book in a really, really big way. Know that the next season is coming and that what you want, a desire within, simply means that there is more to come. That desire, that want, that kind of knowing, you know, there's more. I know something else is coming. That's truth. That's truth speaking to your soul. It's hope and enlightenment speaking to you. So know and believe that if you're in a situation that you are not fulfilled and you are not finding success and riches and abundance, know that there's more. Know that there's more. Have no fear in giving more than what's expected of you. Have no fear that someone's going to take advantage of you or that someone's going to think you're weak because you're giving. You know, in your relationships, give, serve your spouse, serve your significant other, your children. Give more to them than they expect. Wake up asking, how can I help you today? What can I do to make your day better? Don't think that's being weak. Tell your mate that you are attracted to them, that tell them thank you. I don't care how long you've been married. We need to hear that. They need to hear that. Nobody else is going to tell them that. For God's sakes, let not no one else tell them that, because if you're not already telling them that and somebody else at work or, you know, out in their life is enriching them by speaking life into them, they will form a connection there. It's human nature. It's human nature. What we are not giving to them, they will absolutely get somewhere else in some way or another. It's just human nature. It just has nothing to do with somebody not loving somebody else. You know, I've been cheated on. I've cheated. All that is a desire to get something that you do not already have. Now, should we be seeking that from someone else? No. It's a desire for something that should be coming from within. And I've learned that now, and I won't make those mistakes again. Thank God. But know that when those kind of situations happen, all that is an innate desire for more that's not being fulfilled. And you think that it's not being fulfilled by your spouse. So you might go to, you know, another person for it. But truthfully, in the big picture, that is something that should be fulfilled by our own self, by our Creator, by our God, by your own actions should be gaining that, what you're seeking. Everything we're seeking is already within us. Greater is He that is in me. So know that. You know, trust that it's coming to you. Trust, and again, be grateful already. Live in that thanksgiving that what you want, you've got. It's already there. Be grateful already for it. You know, I'm going to tell a story here. When I realized what I wanted in a mate, what I wanted in a spouse, I had already been married twice. And I had really, really looked at my standards and had really, really looked at, well, what am I really looking for? And what do I want? What do I want for my family and my future? I looked ahead because I had already been through a couple relationships that didn't value me and that didn't value what I wanted in life, which was a happy, whole, healthy family. Children. I wanted children so badly. I wanted to provide for them what I never had growing up. I wanted a whole healthy family, a husband that would be committed and that was strong and that would be my foundation. Not my roots. God is my roots. But that would be the foundation of our home, committed, not fickle, not fearful, and that would be faithful. And that would stick around for better or for worse, no matter what. Because I wasn't going to be raising my kids as a single mother, like I see so many doing. God bless you all that are doing that. You know, stepping up and being mom and dad. Bless you. Bless you for being here and learning more and growing yourself. You are a special soul called for a special purpose. So I knew what I wanted. And I was a Christian at the time. Just gotten saved a couple of years prior. And I went to work on myself because I knew to attract that kind of person, I needed to be that kind of person myself. And at that time I wasn't. I was fearful. I was, I had a lot to work on. And so I went to work on myself. I went to work on giving and contributing. I got a job in the children's ministry so that I could learn about children, so that I could teach, so I could learn how to teach children, how to raise them in a loving environment, how to be God to them. And also how to be a version of God's love to my husband. I knew I needed to learn and grow. So there I went. And for years I poured into myself, poured into my spirit. I poured into those around me that needed me. And I tried to grow myself as much as I could. I started taking college classes again. I really, really put time and energy into myself because I knew that to gain what I wanted, I had to be that. I had to be there as well to deserve that. And then, out of divine inspiration, I get on a website called christianmingle.com. Now, totally transparent here, I was not getting on there to be dating. I was looking in my own church for people to date. I was making friends locally, hoping that I would be finding someone for me that met all my expectations or my desires, I should say, in a husband. And lo and behold, in the place I least expected, I mean, obviously I know the name of the website was Christian Mingle, but I did not join for that reason. And I knew in my heart, I joined so that I could find international prayer partners that had a heart of gold and of service and that believed and had the same values that I had. So I was on the prayer boards, the prayer message boards, and there was my husband, didn't know it at the time, and in a little bit, he had made a comment, he had made a post about looking for somebody, for a Proverbs 31 woman in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Go ahead. And, the first thing that came to my mind inspired was, well, wow, that's so narrow-minded. Why would he be looking for somebody in, North Carolina when... And I wrote this, stay in here, please. And I responded, 1,000 miles to us may only be 1 mile to God. Why would you be looking for somebody right there? Who knows? Who knows where she is? And he responded and we chatted for a little bit, eventually exchanged numbers. Mind you, he was in North Carolina at the time and I was in Texas. But in chatting and in talking, I kind of started to wonder, what is this guy about? He had his whole profile filled out. I didn't have anything. I don't even think I had a picture up at the time. He had to ask me for a picture of myself. And we talked more and more and realized that we liked each other. We had a lot in common. We liked what we saw and heard of each other, and eventually started talking on the phone, long distance dating. We met in person. And it was all over after that. That was the story. that God wrote for us. And we're together this day, almost 15 years later. And God brought us together in an unexpected way. And when I least expected it, literally when I was pouring into myself and into service. So know that as you give more right now where you're at, and that when you overfill your place you're in right now, that God will bring to you what is meant for you. Know that. Know that you cannot act in the past. Know that you cannot act in the future. We cannot act where we are not. And you are here right now. So where you are right now, act there, of integrity, of commitment, of love, of giving, of gratitude. Overfill that space and have no fear. We must have the faith and stay claiming that faith, that what is meant for us is coming, and that we already have it, you know. Don't be looking in the rearview mirror. We're absolutely headed for destruction, for collision, for the ditch when we keep looking in the rearview mirror. And know that there's no hurrying. Ooh, this is powerful right now to me. Know that there's no time constraints. There's no rushing. There's no, I missed it. There's no, I'm not at the right place at the right time. No, you're at the right place at the right time. Time is only a perception. I'm going to say that again. Time is only a perception. And most of us allow it to distract us and allow it to get us out of acting in that certain way. We must not act with haste. We must not be rushing. So, just a piece there. It's really been a big visual to me lately, is that, you know, man-made time. Man-made time. So we want to focus on what is not three-dimensional here with this. We want to focus on what our true heart's purpose is and what's divine today. No fear. My mentor Robert Hollis says all the time that fear is false emotions appearing real. So know that when fear starts to come, there's no reason for that. It's an illusion and it's fake and it is there to distract you. You must move forward only in faith, not in fear, to get the results that you're looking for. And you know, this chapter talks too about, you know, never being in the wrong business. That you can never be in a business that's so wrong that you can't get into the right one, and that you can't, you know, same with relationships, that you can never be in the wrong relationship so much that there's not potential, and that you can't grasp what's truly meant. You know that. Again, that goes back to, you know, you're not in the wrong place. You're simply in a place that might not be meant for you in the long run. So, acting in a certain way, let me look. I haven't looked at the chapter here recently. Let me look and make sure that I covered everything. I'll end with this quote. A Greek philosopher, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Heraclitus, said that man is most nearly himself when he achieves the seriousness of a child at play. So, you know, are you living your life to the fullest every day? Can you say that the actions you're taking are personal to you, and that you love what you do so much that you literally feel like you're a child playing? You know, ask yourself that. And I'll be back again with chapter 12. I'm grateful and blessed to be here and to be a vessel sharing this wisdom and this information with you. And I want to recommend that you reach out, and that if you have questions and that if you have concerns or comments, that you please reach out and let me know. And I look forward to serving you, and I look forward to the next video, and I love you so much. Bye.